The suitcases sat by the front door, 3 of them, old, battered things I'd used for family vacations 30 years ago. My son Michael stood there with his arms crossed, his face hard as stone. "The car's coming in 20 minutes, he said, not looking at me, never looking at me anymore. I stared at the suitcases, my entire life packed into 3 bags, 74 years reduced to whatever could fit. "Michael," I said quietly, "where am I going?" "Sunset Meadows." His voice was flat. "It's a nice facility, Mom. You'll like it there." Sunset Meadows, the state-run nursing home 40 miles outside Seattle, the one with the lawsuit for neglect last year, the one where they serve the same gray meatloaf every Tuesday, the one where residents shared rooms with strangers and had visiting hours like prisoners. "I don't need a nursing home," I said. "I'm not sick. I'm not—" "Mom." He finally looked at me. His eyes were cold, empty, like I was a problem he'd finally solved. "This isn't a discussion. Rachel and I made the decision. The papers are signed. You're going today." Rachel, my daughter-in-law, the woman who'd been planning this for months while smiling to my face, while eating meals I cooked, while sleeping in my bedroom. "I don't want to go," I said. "It's not about what you want anymore." Rachel appeared from the kitchen, her heels clicking on the hardwood floor I'd refinished with my own hands 20 years ago. "We've been patient, Eleanor, but you can't take care of yourself. This is what's best." Best. They were putting me away like an old coat they didn't wear anymore, donating me to make space for their lives. What Michael didn't know, what Rachel didn't know, was that I'd made a decision too. And in exactly 6 hours, a judge was going to hear why they had no right to pack my bags, no right to my house, no right to decide my fate. Let me tell you how I got here and how I got out. I bought the house in Tacoma, Washington in 1995, a beautiful craftsman home with a view of Mount Rainier on clear days, 2 stories, 4 bedrooms, a wraparound porch, and a garden where I grew tomatoes and roses. The mortgage was $215,000. My husband James and I had saved for years, working double shifts, him at Boeing, me at Tacoma General Hospital as a registered nurse in the ICU. We'd dreamed of this house for a decade, driven past it on Sundays, imagining our lives inside. When it finally went on the market, we scraped together every penny for the down payment. $45,000. It took us 7 years to save it. James died in 2008. Heart attack. Sudden. Brutal. One day he was fixing the fence, laughing about something our grandson had said. The next day he was gone. I found him in the garden, face down in the tomato plants. The 911 operator kept saying, "Stay calm, ma'am," but calm had left with his last breath. The funeral cost $14,000. The grief was priceless. I kept working, kept paying the mortgage, $1,680 a month for 15 years. I picked up extra shifts, worked holidays, worked through my grief because stopping meant drowning. I paid off the mortgage in 2012. The house became mine, free and clear. My name on the deed, Eleanor Morrison, no one else. James and I had wanted to fill this house with family, with laughter, with grandchildren running through the halls. After he died, the house felt too big, too quiet. Every room echoed with his absence. When Michael called in 2015, I thought maybe that was about to change. Michael was struggling. His startup, some tech thing I never fully understood, had failed spectacularly. He owed $180,000 in business loans, credit cards maxed out, creditors calling daily. His wife, Rachel, was pregnant with their first child 7 months along and on bed rest. They were living in a cramped one-bedroom apartment in Seattle, $20,400 a month rent they couldn't afford. "Mom," he called me one night. His voice was shaking, breaking. "We're drowning. Rachel's doctor says she can't work. I can't work enough hours to cover everything. We're 30 days from eviction. We're going to lose everything." My son was crying. My grown son was crying and asking for help. "Move in with me," I said. No hesitation. "The house is big. You can save money. Focus on the baby. Focus on getting back on your feet." "Are you sure? It might be a while. You're my son. This is what family does. We help each other." They moved in that month. Rachel was 7 months pregnant, moving slowly, her hand always on her belly. I gave them the master bedroom, the one with the mountain view, the one James and I had shared. "You need the space," I said, "for the baby." I took the smaller guest room. It was fine. I didn't need much. I didn't charge rent. How could I? They were family. They were struggling. I cooked every meal, breakfast, lunch, dinner. Rachel was on bed rest, so I brought her meals upstairs. I did the grocery shopping, my money, my car. I paid the utilities $300 a month in winter when the heat ran constantly because Rachel was always cold. I paid the property taxes, $4,200 a year. I paid for repairs when the roof leaked and when the furnace broke and when the garage door stopped working. "Just until we get back on our feet," Michael said, over and over. "We'll pay you back, Mom. I promise." I believed him. I always believed him. Rachel had the baby in November, a girl. They named her Sophia. I held her in the hospital, this tiny, perfect thing with James's eyes, and I thought, this is why. This is what family means. I became Sophia's primary caregiver. I watched her while Michael and Rachel worked, changed her diapers, walked her to sleep at 3 a.m. when she had colic, and Rachel was too exhausted, sang her lullabies my mother had sung to me, watched her take her first steps in my living room. 2 years became 5. 5 became 10. They never moved out. They never paid rent. They never even offered. "We're saving up," Michael would say when I gently suggested maybe it was time. "Just a little longer, Mom." A little longer turned into a decade. It started slowly, so slowly I almost didn't notice the shifts. Rachel began redecorating. "The house needs updating," she said one morning over coffee. "It's so dated, very 1990s. The house was from 1995. Of course it looked like the 90s. James and I had chosen every detail together. She hired an interior designer, some woman from Seattle with sharp glasses and sharper opinions. They walked through my house with clipboards, pointing at things, whispering. The bill came to $8,000, paid with a credit card I didn't know they'd opened in my name until the statement arrived. "We needed to establish credit," Rachel explained when I confronted her. "We used your good score. Don't worry, we'll pay it off." They didn't. My furniture disappeared. The couch James and I had bought on our 20th anniversary deep blue, worn soft from years of use. The dining table where we'd hosted Thanksgivings and birthdays. The china cabinet my mother had left me, solid oak built in 1940. It doesn't match Rachel's aesthetic, Michael explained when I asked where it had gone. Where is it? Storage unit. Don't worry, it's safe. It wasn't in storage. I found out later Rachel had sold it all on Craigslist for $300 total. My mother's china cabinet for $75. New furniture arrived. White leather couches that cost $6,000. A glass dining table for $3,200. Everything cold. Everything expensive. Everything chosen without asking me. It looks better, Rachel said, surveying the living room. More adult. Adult. My home for 20 years wasn't adult enough. Then they took my garden. I'd spent 30 years building that garden, grafting roses, testing soil, planting heirloom tomatoes James's grandmother had brought from Italy. Every plant had a story. Every bloom was a memory. Sophia needs a play area, Rachel announced one Saturday morning. The garden is wasted space. Wasted? The word stung. Rachel, I've been growing those roses for... She's 5 years old, Eleanor. She needs to play. Or do you want her to just stare at flowers all day? By Monday, workers were there, ripping out my roses. 30 years of careful pruning, varieties I'd grafted myself gone. They tore out the tomato plants, roots and all. They poured concrete for a swing set that cost $3,500, and Sophia played on exactly twice before losing interest. I stood at the window and watched them destroy it, watched the backhoe tear through James's favorite climbing rose, the one he'd proposed under, watched 30 years of growth become trash in an afternoon. It's progress, Mom, Michael said when I cried. Things change. You have to adapt. Adapt. I had to adapt to them destroying my memories. Then they took my room. We need a home office, Rachel said, not asked, said. Michael's working from home now. We need the space. You can move to the basement. The basement? Rachel, there's no bedroom down there. It's just storage and the laundry. We'll put in a daybed. It'll be cozy. You don't need much space anymore anyway. Cozy. The basement smelled like mildew and old paint. The ceiling was 7 feet high with exposed pipes. The window was the size of a shoebox, at ground level, showing only feet walking past. The concrete floor made my knees ache when I walked, worsening the arthritis I'd been managing for years. They moved me down there on a Tuesday. Michael carried my things in silence, my clothes in garbage bags, my books in cardboard boxes, the photo of James from our wedding day, the frame cracked from being tossed in too quickly. It's temporary, he said, not meeting my eyes. How temporary? Just until we figure things out. That was 3 years ago. I lived in that basement for 3 years. I ate meals down there. Rachel said my old person smell bothered guests when I came upstairs. I did my laundry at midnight so I wouldn't be in the way during the day. I listened to footsteps above my head, my family living in my house, while I hid below like something shameful. The isolation was carefully constructed, deliberately cruel. Rachel started having parties, dinner parties for her book club. 8 women drinking wine and eating cheese I'd bought, wine nights for her yoga friends, birthday parties for Sophia with a dozen children running through rooms I wasn't allowed to enter. I wasn't invited to any of them. It's awkward having you there, Rachel said once when I asked why. You make people uncomfortable. You just sit there, looking sad. It brings down the energy. I made people uncomfortable. In my own house, by existing. They stopped including me in family dinners. I'd hear them upstairs, laughing, talking. Sophia's voice asking questions, Rachel and Michael responding. A complete family unit that had no space for me. I started eating alone in the basement. Frozen dinners heated in an old microwave they'd thrown down there when they upgraded. $3 meals eaten on a TV tray while listening to my family above me. The final insult came last month. I came upstairs for breakfast. I was still allowed in the kitchen in the early morning before they woke up. Rachel was at the table with Michael, papers spread out in front of them. Legal papers. "What's this?" I asked, pouring coffee with shaking hands. Rachel looked up. Her eyes were cold, calculated. "A conservatorship petition. We're filing for legal guardianship over you." The words didn't make sense at first. I stood there, coffee pot in hand, trying to process. Why would you? I'm not incompetent. I'm not sick. I manage my own. Do you? Rachel's smile was sharp as glass. You're 74 years old, living in a basement with no income except Social Security. You can barely take care of yourself. The court will agree you need help managing your affairs. My affairs are managed fine. I have savings. Do you? She tilted her head. Because I've never seen evidence of any savings. Your Social Security barely covers groceries. You're dependent on us for everything. Housing, food, care. The court will see that. She was lying. She knew she was lying. But she said it with such confidence, such certainty, that for a moment even I doubted myself. I don't want a conservatorship. It's not about what you want anymore, Eleanor. She said my name like it tasted bad. It's about what you need. And we've decided. You need professional care. That's why we're moving you to Sunset Meadows. It's what's best. I don't want to go to a home. It's not your choice. Michael said nothing, just stared at his coffee. My son, who I'd raised, who I'd saved from financial ruin, who'd lived rent-free in my house for a decade, he said nothing. That night I made a phone call that would change everything. I called Thomas Whitmore at 11 p.m. He'd been my lawyer when James died, when we'd settled the estate and transferred the house deed solely to my name. He was semi-retired now, only taking a few cases a year, but we'd stayed in touch. Birthday cards, the occasional lunch at the diner near the courthouse. "Tom," I said when he answered, my voice shaking. "I need your help." "Eleanor? What's wrong? You sound—" "My son is trying to put me in a nursing home and take my house." Silence. Then, "Tell me everything. Start from the beginning." I did. The basement, the parties I wasn't invited to, the destroyed garden, the furniture they'd sold, the conservatorship petition, the suitcases already packed by the door. "When are they moving you?" Tom asked, his voice tight with controlled anger. "Tomorrow, 10 a.m. The car's already scheduled." "And the house, it's still in your name?" "Just mine. James and I bought it together, but after he died, we transferred it solely to my name. Michael's never been on the deed. He's never paid $1 toward the mortgage or taxes or anything." "Do you have the deed, the original document?" "In my safe deposit box at the bank on Pacific Avenue." "Eleanor, listen to me very carefully." Tom's voice was steady, calm, professional. "Don't get in that car tomorrow. Tell them you're sick. Tell them you fell. Tell them anything. I'm filing an emergency motion tonight. We're going to stop this." "Can you do that? Can you really?" "We're going to try. But I need you to do something for me. First thing tomorrow morning, before they wake up if you can, go to the bank. Get that deed. Get your bank statements. Any documentation of your financial independence. Bring it all to the courthouse. We have a hearing at 2 p.m. "A hearing? Tomorrow?" Emergency motion. I'm calling in a favor with Judge Chen. She doesn't like elder abuse, and that's exactly what this is. But Eleanor, you have to be there. You have to show the judge you're competent, that you can advocate for yourself. I am competent. I'm a retired ICU nurse, for God's sake. I managed life and death situations for 37 years. Then we're going to prove it. Don't back down. Don't let them intimidate you. This is your house, your life. We're taking it back. The next morning, I woke up at 6 a.m. Michael and Rachel's alarm went off at 7:30. I had 90 minutes. I dressed quietly, grabbed my purse, took the spare key to the car. My car, a 2004 Honda I'd bought with my own money, but Rachel had claimed because you don't drive anymore anyway. I drove to the bank. My hands shook on the steering wheel. When was the last time I'd driven? 6 months? A year? Rachel said I was too old, too slow, too dangerous. But the car started fine. My hands remembered. The bank opened at 8 a.m. I was waiting at the door. The safe deposit box held everything. The deed to the house, crisp and official, with my name in bold letters. My birth certificate, James's death certificate, my nursing license, my marriage certificate, and bank statements I'd been hiding for years. $127,000 in savings. Every Social Security check, $1,800 a month, had gone straight to a savings account Michael and Rachel didn't know about. I didn't spend it. I didn't need to. They provided food and shelter, however grudgingly. So I saved. For 10 years, for exactly this moment. They thought I was broke. They thought I was dependent. They thought I had nothing. They were wrong about everything. I took copies of the last 12 months of bank statements, withdrew $200 cash, put everything in a folder Tom had told me to bring. I drove to the courthouse. Tom was waiting on the steps, briefcase in hand, wearing his court suit. "You came," he said, relief flooding his face. "Did you think I wouldn't?" "I wasn't sure. Eleanor, this is going to be hard. They'll be there, Michael and Rachel. They'll have a lawyer. I found out they hired Patricia Vance. She's aggressive and she doesn't play fair. They'll say things about you, terrible things. They'll try to make you look incompetent." "Let them try. I want a judge to hear the truth." "Good." He squeezed my shoulder. "Because Judge Chen is no nonsense. She'll see through their lies, but you have to stay calm, stay dignified. Don't let them rattle you. I've handled worse than them. I believe it." We went inside. The courtroom was small, wood-paneled, American flag in the corner. Judge Margaret Chen presiding. A woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and graying hair, pulled back in a tight bun. Michael and Rachel sat on the other side with their lawyer, Patricia Vance. Young, blonde, expensive suit. She looked at me like I was already defeated. Rachel's face was tight, angry. This wasn't supposed to happen. I was supposed to be on my way to Sunset Meadows by now. Docile, defeated, gone. Michael wouldn't meet my eyes. Good. He shouldn't. Judge Chen read the conservatorship petition. Her expression never changed. Then she looked at Tom. "Mr. Whitmore, you filed an emergency motion to dismiss and a request for a protective order. On what grounds?" Tom stood. His voice was clear, strong. "Your Honor, this petition is fraudulent and exploitative. Mrs. Eleanor Morrison is a competent, independent woman being manipulated by her son and daughter-in-law to gain control of her property and assets." "That's absolutely untrue," Patricia Vance jumped up. Your Honor, Mrs. Morrison is elderly, living in unsuitable conditions in her son's home. Her son's home? Tom's voice was sharp. According to what deed? Well, the family home. Show me the deed with Michael Morrison's name on it. Silence. Tom pulled out the document. This is the deed to 4737 Rainier View Drive, Tacoma, Washington. Purchased March 1995 by James Morrison and Eleanor Morrison. Transferred solely to Eleanor Morrison upon James Morrison's death in 2008. Michael Morrison has never been on this deed, has never paid a mortgage payment, property tax payment, or utilities. He and his wife have lived there rent-free for 10 years while relegating the actual homeowner to the basement. Judge Chen's eyebrows rose. She took the deed, examined it. Mrs. Vance, your petition lists the house as a marital asset. We were informed. By whom? Your clients? Who lied to you? Judge Chen's voice was ice. Continue, Mr. Whitmore. Your Honor, Mrs. Morrison is a retired registered nurse with 37 years of service. She's financially independent, mentally competent, and physically capable. This conservatorship is nothing but a land grab disguised as concern. Your Honor, Patricia tried again, Mrs. Morrison is living in a basement. That alone demonstrates. Why is she living in a basement? Judge Chen looked at Michael. Mr. Morrison, whose house is this? Michael's face went red. Technically, it's my mother's, but... There's no but. It's her house. Yes or no? Yes. Do you pay rent? No, but we help with... Do you pay utilities? My mother handles that. Do you pay property taxes? She pays those too, but, Your Honor, we provide care. What care? Judge Chen's voice was sharp as a scalpel. You moved her to the basement of her own house. You excluded her from family activities. You're attempting to institutionalize her against her will. That's not care, Mr. Morrison. That's abuse. Rachel leaned forward. Your Honor, with all respect, we've been supporting her for years. Have you? Mr. Whitmore, do you have evidence to the contrary? Tom handed her the bank statements. Your Honor, Mrs. Morrison has $127,000 in savings. She's been financially independent this entire time. Her Social Security income has been deposited directly into savings, while her son and daughter-in-law have lived off her generosity. Judge Chen reviewed the statements. Her jaw tightened. Mrs. Vance, did you verify any of the claims your clients made? We relied on their representations. You relied on lies. Judge Chen looked at me. Mrs. Morrison, would you please stand? I stood. My legs were shaking, but I kept my back straight. Ma'am, in your own words, what's happening here? I took a breath. Your Honor, I'm a retired registered nurse. I worked in the ICU at Tacoma General for 37 years. I bought my house in 1995 with my late husband. When my son faced financial trouble 10 years ago, I invited him and his family to live with me temporarily. I never charged rent. I paid all expenses. Over time, they took over my home. They moved me to the basement. They destroyed my garden. They excluded me from family life. And now they want to put me in a nursing home so they can have my house to themselves. I don't want to go to Sunset Meadows. I want to live in my own home, the one I paid for. Do you feel safe in that home currently? No, Your Honor, I don't. Judge Chen looked at Michael and Rachel. Her expression was cold fury. Let me be very clear. Mrs. Morrison owns that house, not you. She has every right to live there in safety and dignity. You have been living as guests in her home, guests who have overstayed their welcome and exploited her generosity. Your Honor, Rachel started, I'm not finished. The conservatorship petition is denied. Furthermore, I'm issuing an emergency protective order. Mr. and Mrs. Morrison, you have 30 days to vacate Eleanor Morrison's property. You will remove your belongings and surrender all keys. If you fail to comply, Mrs. Morrison is authorized to have you removed by law enforcement. 30 days? Rachel's voice was shrill. We have nowhere to go. We have a child. You've had 10 years to prepare for this possibility. 30 days is generous. And Mrs. Morrison? Judge Chen looked at me. If they give you any trouble, you call the sheriff. That house is yours. This order gives you full legal authority to reclaim it. She banged her gavel. We're adjourned. The courtroom emptied. Michael and Rachel left without speaking to me. Patricia Vance looked furious. She'd been made to look foolish in front of a judge. Tom hugged me. You did it. You actually did it. We did it, I corrected. What now? Now I go home. My home. I drove back to the house. The suitcases were still by the door. I unpacked them, put my clothes back in drawers, hung James's photo back on the wall. Michael and Rachel came home at 6 p.m. I was in the kitchen making tea. Mom, Michael started. I handed him the court order. You have 30 days. We can't afford. You've had 10 years to save money. You should have plenty. They didn't, of course. They'd spent everything, on furniture, on cars, on Rachel's lifestyle. They moved out in 28 days, found a 2-bedroom apartment in Kent, $2,100 a month. No mountain view, no garden, no free ride. I hired contractors, converted the basement back into storage, reclaimed my bedroom, bought new furniture, my choice this time, planted new roses in the garden, different varieties, a fresh start. Rachel's book club fell apart. Hard to host wine nights in a cramped apartment. Her Instagram went quiet. The influencer dream died when the backdrop wasn't pretty enough. Michael tried to apologize, showed up at the house 3 months later with flowers. Mom, I'm sorry. I should have stood up to Rachel. I should have protected you. You should have, but you didn't. I was weak. You were cruel. There's a difference. Can you forgive me? I looked at him, this man who'd been my baby, who I'd raised and sacrificed for and loved unconditionally, who'd repaid me by locking me in a basement. Maybe someday, but not today, not yet. He nodded, left the flowers on the porch, drove away. Sophia visits sometimes. She's 12 now, old enough to understand some of what happened. She takes the bus by herself, the same one I used to take to the courthouse. We bake cookies. We plant flowers. We talk about her day, her friends, her dreams. Why don't I live with you anymore, Grandma? She asked once. Because your parents needed to learn to stand on their own 2 feet. Are they mad at you? Probably, but that's not my burden to carry anymore. I miss the old house. It's still here. You're always welcome. This is your home, too. And it is. The house is full again, not with people living here, but with life, with purpose, with peace. I live in my house now, the one I bought with James, the one we dreamed of together, the one I almost lost because I confused kindness with weakness. I wake up to the mountain view. I drink my coffee on the porch James built. I tend my roses, new varieties, new colors, but planted with the same love. I am visible again, valued again, free again. The $127,000 sits in my account. Some went to Sophia, a college fund in a trust Michael and Rachel can't access. Some went to repairs and renovations. The rest is mine. For security, for peace, for knowing I'll never be dependent on anyone again. The house is quiet, but it's not lonely. There's a difference. Quiet is peaceful. Lonely is what I was in the basement, surrounded by people who wanted me gone. I volunteer at the hospital now, 3 days a week in the ICU where I used to work. The nurses are younger, the technology is different, but the work is the same, helping people, making a difference, being useful. If you're watching this and you've ever been pushed aside in a home you built, in a life you created, by people who thought you were too old or too tired or too trapped to fight back, remember this. You are not too old. You are not powerless. You are not a burden. The deed is in your name. The strength is in your name. The future is in your name. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Don't let anyone make you small in your own life. Call the lawyer, get the documents, stand in front of the judge, and tell your truth, because sometimes justice wins. Sometimes judges listen. Sometimes the quiet grandmother in the basement is stronger than anyone imagined. I'm Eleanor Morrison. I'm 74 years old. I'm a retired ICU nurse. I'm a homeowner. I'm a grandmother who learned that love without boundaries becomes exploitation, and I'm not going anywhere. If this story touched you, share it. Let someone else know they're not alone, that there's a way to fight back, that courts can protect you, that you're worth protecting. And remember, you built the foundation. You decide who stands on it. The deed is in your name. Use it.